Welcome back to Release Your Inner Power podcast. Today, our special guest is Jenny. Welcome, Jenny. I'm excited to have you here today.
Thanks, Shauna. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, well, let us know, what is your story? How did you get to what you're doing and where you are today? Who is Jenny?
Ooh, yay. Wow. Well, I have traveled a long and winding road to get to the spot today. Probably not unlike a lot of people, but sometimes I look around and I feel like, wow, that person's so lucky. They just knew what they wanted to be and everything fell right into place. How fortunate. That wasn't me. I didn't just, wake up as a 5-year-old and, want to be a firefighter and do that. Um, I did a lot of things in a lot of different places over the course of adulthood. And then I had been an entrepreneur for a number of years after I had children. I was a teacher for a short career before I had kids, and then I was lucky enough to have a summer baby for my first child, so that was like a really good end point to that job because that just didn't feel like the final career for me. So I stayed home for a couple years as a stay-at-home mom with my kids, and that as wonderful as that is and was, I dabbled in some home-based, MLM type of things, and that that just it just didn't use enough of my brain power, and I wasn't interacting with enough people, so I kinda got into the entrepreneurial space by accident, I guess. Um, I I didn't wanna go out into that 9 to 5 corporate space. So, I always loved to bake. That was a fun hobby of mine, so I found myself with a home-based baking business for quite a number of years, and then the stars aligned, and I closed up that business right before the pandemic. It was just, ooh, lucky for me, I decided to, end that phase of life, um, right before right before the universe would have me do that anyway. And then I found myself one night scrolling Instagram, and you know how the universe sort of hears messages for you and then communicates things back to you. So I'm scrolling in Instagram, and an ad comes up on my feed for a life coach group program, DIY, very very easy entry, low budget, and it just had all the right text, all the right copy, all the right questions that were just jumping out at me to address things that were really deep buried issues that I had ignored for a long time. And now that we're sitting in our four walls, having no choice but to think our thoughts and be with ourselves, I thought, huh, might as well jump into this one because what else do I have to do but read books and bake banana bread? So,
I
and
love
play board games with my kids
Yeah,
and try and homeschool them, which I really don't want to do. Since I've given up teaching that many years ago, I kind of didn't want to do it with my own kids.
right?
So I jumped into this group coaching program and started grappling with these issues, and stuff came up, and I started healing some stuff, but it was just scratching the surface because, like I said, it was a very easy entry program. But then, of course, that was that was the ticket into their bigger program. So I said, all right, let's go for it. And I bought the bigger program and then really started getting into the meat of my issues because we all have stuff, right? Right,
Mm.
Shauna? We all like to pile the dirty laundry on top of the bigger
Yeah.
stuff. So
So true.
stuff was coming up, and I had this nice forum of strangers to work through stuff. And it was very cathartic and transformative. And I just kept buying more programs. And because it was working.
Yeah.
I was seeing the growth. And I all of a sudden had this epiphany that this was the path for me. This coach was making such a mark on me that I thought, this is the space for me. I want to do this for other people. Not in exactly the same way she was doing it for me. That was a very niche program, but I just loved her approach, and I just there were so many things about it I loved. The individual aspect, I love the group aspect, and yeah, so I went all in and did life coaching and breathwork facilitation, and yeah, created a website and followed the breadcrumbs.
What is the name of your coaching business?
It is called Gentle Coaching because I thought it would be really punny to play with the J instead of a G, and made an acronym out of gentle so that each of the letters stands for something. And
I
yeah,
love
I
it.
just yeah, thought it would be really cute.
Yeah, I love it. I love the creativity with it too, and how you put a lot of thought into that. I love that.
Yes.
I love how you did different ventures too at different times of your life to really like I feel like, tell me if I'm misspeaking, but I feel like it kind of like filled you at the time, like that was what filled you at the time, but you also paid attention and listened to when it wasn't anymore. And then you were
Mhm.
also okay with kind of like, oh, well, let's try this. Like, like when you had your kiddo and you're like, okay, teaching's done. I'm going to be, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. And then you're like, okay, stay-at-home mom was great, but I need to do something else too. Like I can't just do the mom thing. And but then
Yeah.
like giving yourself permission to be okay with doing that and like and working through it and then starting your baking business and having that and then like being okay with being like, okay, well, this chapter's done and now I'm going to the next thing. Like that is so inspiring to be like listening to yourself and doing different things and but it's filling you up in the time that you're in, right? And then
Yeah,
move through it. I don't know. I just
yeah.
I that is so awesome that that you're just like, okay, this is what I'm doing now and then listening and being like, okay, now, like you said, the universe has ways of, telling you things and giving you messages and how you stopped the baking business right before the lovely pandemic hit, which would have been
Right.
totally stressful and disastrous, but you had the smooth transition with that without having all the COVID on top of it. And then how it almost like kind of led you to this like, okay, well now look at this. And then you get coaching and you're like, oh wow, this is like, look at all of this that it can do. Look at all this awesome change and look at how much better I feel and look at all of this stuff that has happened to me. I want to give that. I want to give that to somebody else. I want to be able to help somebody else through that because it felt so amazing. I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. I think that's an awesome story of how you were kind of like led to it and how you did so many different cool things also in the process.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I didn't I it sounds much smoother when I say it. And I didn't see it as signs from the universe until recently. I mean, I wouldn't say the earlier part, I didn't have the growth and development to appreciate the breadcrumbs until I was deep in the personal growth to appreciate it. Now when I met it was interesting. I was in my certification program and I was introduced to my coach's mentor, who ended up being the instructor of my future program. So it was my coach's coach who became my coach, and that was kind of the trigger of, okay, this is truly alignment, that I can't ignore this.
Right.
And then once I got into all of this, hippy dippy woo woo stuff, and then learned a little bit about human design,
Mhm.
and learned that I'm a manifesting generator, I could now appreciate that I am not just all over the place and picking things up and putting them down. I am actually multi-passionate, and that this is, if people in my life say, gosh, you never finish projects and you're all over the place. No, this is actually how I'm designed. This is
Yeah.
so, when I said at the beginning that I appreciate these people who find their path from early age, that's great. That's how they're built. I'm not built that way. I
Mhm.
was built to do all the different things that I did. And
Yeah.
maybe this is the thing that I stick with for the rest, and maybe not. But if not, I know why.
Right. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's
It all makes
I love
sense.
all of it. It's awesome. It's awesome. To me it like shows, I don't know, it just shows that you were like you said you didn't really see the breadcrumbs, but it's interesting too when you go through the growth and the process and you have that transformation. When you start realizing that they were breadcrumbs, it's almost like, at least for me, it was like this flashback of like like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, and I see all of them that led me here. Once it's
Right.
like it snaps and you're like, okay, I get it.
Right.
I get
It's
it
like
now.
this,
I'm following.
the stars in the constellation finally coming together to make something.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how that happens. It's like the fog is lifted and you're like, oh, I see all of the things now after you
Right.
get through that process. That's awesome. Well, tell me more about you as a mom. Tell me
Mm.
how we know a little bit about how, you had your kiddo and you stopped being a teacher and a stay-at-home mom. Like, how many kids do you have? What are their
Yep.
ages now? What does your momhood look like?
Uh, it has been challenging. So I had my son, he was a summer baby. He came in August, in 2005. And then my daughter came 19 months later. And it has been a roller coaster. He'll love me for saying this. He's been my challenge. But he's now 18, almost 18 and a half. Um, and it's, yeah, I mean, it hasn't been the smoothest path, but we are now looking to send him off to college, which is thrilling. And it's, yeah, it's a super crazy thing. I was actually just thinking last night as I was cleaning up after dinner. It's when they're super little and you're in the thick of diapers and crying and bottles and all that stuff, and you're exhausted, and you just think, I want a little bit of a break, or I want, like, you can't ever imagine sending them off to college, or you think that's so far off, and it is. And then here I am, dreading that
Yeah,
it's so soon, and dreading that there's going to be this void in my house, and I just want to cling to the next 7 months.
right.
and now he's starting to pull away, which is the age appropriate thing to do. And I'm like, trying to put my sticky fingers on him, like, no, 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 not yet. Come
Wait,
back to
wait.
me. Like, and I'll like grab and be like, can we just watch a show? Can we, like, what are you doing now? Like, oh, you're gonna go watch the the Warriors game? Can I sit next to you? Can I be with you? Can I like want me to make some popcorn? Do you want a snack? Do you want to? And he's like, oh my God, like back off. And I'm like, okay, oh, you're gonna go watch Big Bang Theory? Can I watch that with you? Like, where are we going? What are we doing? And he's like, give me room. Like, you like, I'm gonna go over there, you go over there.
Yeah.
Or how about you don't even come with me? And like, and he's like, or like, okay, I'm gonna sit on this side of the couch. Can you just like put a cushion between us? Like, you can come watch with me, but maybe not like on top of me. I'm like, can I hug you? Can I share the blanket with you?
Yeah. Yeah. You're like grasping onto like every last little morsel you can get before he
Right,
goes to
right.
college.
Because my daughter and I are super close. We have that, like, I mean, she's only a year behind him in school, so I don't have that much left with her either, but I have plenty of closeness with her. So, she's not pushing me away yet. And hopefully she won't. I know some mothers. I actually was just with um someone, I don't want to call her out in case she listens, but I was with someone who saw me with my daughter, and my daughter came up to me and hugged me, and she's like, "You still get hugs?" And I said, "Oh, like, yes. Should I not say that so emphatically?" And she said, "Oh God, yeah, my daughter is like, like repels me." And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, because 16-year-old girls, I guess, will do that." And I don't experience that, so I suppose that's, um, something I should treasure.
It's funny because when you're talking about this, so I have this little thing with my kid. I'm sure he figured it out a long time ago, but he doesn't, he doesn't ever say anything because I have a 17-year-old. And this is his last year in school as well. So it's like, if he's doing something, and sometimes I'll be like, hey, come here. And he's like, what? And I'm like, come here. And he'll walk out. And then I'm like, oh, and I'll like hug him, like, thanks, buddy. And he's like, really?
Yep,
And I was like,
right.
I just needed just really quick, just like 5 seconds and just how you doing? And he's like, I'm fine, mom. I'm fine, like really?
Right,
But
right.
then, but because I've done that for it's probably been like a year. Like when he started driving was a real challenge, right? For me, just to
Yeah.
like let go. But then once I started doing it, I was like, I'm just gonna do this random weird hugging thing where I'm gonna hug him or I'll be like, hey. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, love you. And he's like, what? Love you too. Like at first, but now it's almost like a normal thing. So sometimes he'll reverse it on me and like I'll come home from work or something. He's like, hey mom, and he'll put his arm out and I'm like, ooh, he's
Yay.
like, oh, this is great, and it's like you want to cherish it because, like you said, the sticky fingers, you're like, yes, all the hugs, give them to me because when you leave, I don't know when you're gonna hug me next.
Right. I know. I know. I feel like a starfish, and I just want like
Yeah,
get suction
I
right
know.
onto him.
It's so crazy that transition with them. It's like exciting and then it's like, oh man, at the same time, it's such a
I
transition.
know. I know. He's not going to college that far away from me, so he'll remind me, I'm only going an hour away. And I say, I know, but it's not like I'm going to creep in on you.
Right.
That's your space. So it doesn't even matter if you were going 10 minutes away.
Hmm.
I need you to have that independence. So it's not even about the distance.
It's
That's
just
once,
change. It's
yeah,
change.
I'm going to give you
Different.
your space. I get that if there's an emergency, you're close by, but I'm not gonna be all up in your grill just because you're an hour away.
You're like, I'm doing that now.
Gotta get my fill now
Yeah,
so that
you're
I
like,
can let you
yeah,
go.
I'm doing that now. So I can let go of you when you leave.
But since you keep reminding me it's an hour away, maybe I will. We'll just have to see
Oh,
how
so
it
you want
goes.
me to stop by? You want me to check in on you? Is that
Right.
what you're
Are you
telling me?
testing me?
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Because if you're double daring me,
Yeah, you're like, I just might do that. I just might show up. That's
call
great.
my
I love that.
bluff.
Well, I know that you have shared some of what you're passionate about with your coaching business. I was hoping that you would share some of your podcasts too that you are doing and tell us about that.
Oh, yes. So my podcast is called Sideline Sisters. And, it's kind of hilarious because it's a podcast about sports. I have conversations with women who have connections in some way to sports. Either they played, coached, work in some capacity, either as a therapist in the industry, as a reporter, a photographer, a cheerleader, they're a sports mom, they're just a big fan. In some way, their lives have been touched by sports. And so people just naturally assume that I'm a former athlete or I'm intensely a sports mom or that I am in some way connected, that I work for a team or something. No, no, and no. I
I
just
love.
really like sports. I love to watch. I'm particularly obsessed with football and tennis. Although, if I was sitting with you and you had on, an NBA game or the Olympics, or I'd sit and watch that with you. Really, I don't. Um, I mean, I'm not there are things I'm not obsessed with, that I may not get into. I mean, I haven't spent a whole lot of time watching fencing or, there are things that I don't know a lot about polo or cricket, but I could be taught. And I'd probably, if you were a fan, I'd sit with you and probably get into it because you are. But all the shows on Netflix and Amazon, I get into, all the documentaries and the behind the scenes because I'm just fascinated by the lives of players and the lives of their families and what they go through. And I just find it all so interesting. And so I call it Sideline Sisters because, it's a sisterhood, a womanhood. And I'm on the sidelines. And I feel like there's a sideline sisterhood, a sideline experience to watching and being a fan and a camaraderie to experiencing the excitement. And it's not as if I'm missing out because, for those of us who are on the sidelines, that, people have asked me, well, it's you're not in the game, or it's, there's like this weirdness of, well, it's not, but you're not in the game, you're on the sidelines. Yes, and there was something missing during COVID when there were no people in the stands. I watched those tennis tournaments and there was such a fire missing.
Mhm.
So I feel like the sidelines are such an important aspect to sports.
Oh yeah.
So I play an important role in in making sports work.
You can really like stoke that fire in a team. You can really give them, like, if they're down, or if they need that little push, like the sidelines, and the sidelines and people that are all watching and how they respond can really push and help
Oh
out with.
yeah. And for anyone listening who watches tennis in particular, it's incredible. I didn't notice this years ago, but at least in the last few years, it's incredible to watch players when they, especially if they're down and then they play an amazing point, they will lift their hands to rally the crowd on their side. And I just feel like that's new in the last few years, that where they're telling the crowd, "Get behind me."
Like, I need your
And
help right now. Help me out. Boost
yeah,
me up.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I am
So
definitely a person that participates in that.
yeah.
Because I
I'm
love
like,
sports too, but I love being a participant in, helping the players and boosting them up and like supporting them and all of that.
oh, I mean, I don't go to baseball games very often. If I go once every 5 or 7 years, that's a lot for me. But I mean, the wave is like my favorite thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, where's the beach ball? Let's do the wave. Let's
Like
go.
all the things. I want it. Come on, let's go. Yeah, that makes it so much more fun. I love it.
I get so mad if I can't find my t-shirt. Like, it becomes a family ordeal. Like, where is my Red Sox t-shirt? Who took it? Who hit it?
You're like,
Yep.
you're not leaving until I'm wearing my shirt.
Or we are stopping by the shop, like the souvenir shop. I need a new one.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
I
what
will
I
spend
think. Like,
$75 on a t-shirt.
yeah, but I think there's an element to that, right? There's an element to wearing the shirt and getting into it. It's just, it's so much more fun when you get into it and you support it and you dress the part and all the things. It's just so much more fun to
Yes.
do that. Sidelines are important. I totally agree with you, girl. I think sidelines
Yeah.
such an
Yeah.
important part, such an important part. I love that. I love your show. I love, I also love sports. So I love that you're sharing that and that you're having a sisterhood and then you get different. I like how you like have all different aspects too, like you said, from player all the way to whatever connection they have and their part in it. It's gonna open up like the things we don't see when sometimes when you're on the sidelines or you are a player and like the background stuff that has to go with it, or like from the photographer's point of view or an announcer's point of view and like what they have to do, it kind of opens up the world of sports to really understand more of what goes on instead of just the game and like just the sidelines. There's like different aspects to it too. I really like that perspective and opening that part of it up. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
It's been so fun to hear everyone's stories of how they got into it and maybe why they got out of it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just and it's this global thing. It's
Mhm.
around the world, a thing, this thread that can connect us, that no matter what, or what we look like, what color, what age, we all know sports
Yeah.
and we all cheer, we all love it. So it's, despite our differences, it's something that brings us together.
I love that. I love that. So Sideline Sisters listeners, you should go check it out. Go check it out. Well, I wanted to ask you too, with all of your awesome adventures that you have taken and through your momhood and starting all of these new chapters in your life, how do you how do you get your me time? And then how do you set yourself up to like fill yourself up first so you can do all of these wonderful things that you're doing?
Hmm. Uh, I am pretty unapologetic about me time. I just, yeah, I carve it out. I mean, I will often sit on the couch with my dog and watch a show or catch up on my phone stuff, or call my brother cross country. um I don't feel guilty about that. I don't, I don't, yeah, I don't feel like I need to be doing a chore while I'm doing that. I don't, a lot of people will say, oh, I'll call a friend while I'm folding laundry. No, I will sit and do nothing while maybe I will simultaneously be playing a game on my phone while I'm on speakerphone talking to a friend, but I don't need to be doing a chore while I'm on the phone or sitting with my dog. But I don't, yeah, I'm not one of those people who feels guilty about sitting and doing
Yeah.
nothing. I just don't. I mean, I shouldn't say I just don't. It took time, I guess. It took some years. I probably wasn't like that when my kids were younger, and I did feel the need to um, fit more stuff into the day, or I probably did feel guilty if laundry piled up or dishes were in the sink. But now, um, I do like a tidy house. Maybe I'm more efficient now. I get I'm more of a minimalist now, so I have less in my house to clean. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah. Me
That's
too.
there's a plug for minimalism. The less you have, the less you have to clean. And so now my life is simpler. We have a smaller house, less stuff in it, which means more me time.
Yeah, I love that. So I love that you said that, I'm just not I just don't feel guilty. I'm just not one of those people that feels guilty with it. And how you, but also how you know it's been a process over time, that it's just that's how you are now and it hasn't always been that way. And how you said, you don't feel bad about the dishes in the sink or the laundry not being done. I truly think, like you said, it is totally a process when, like you said, when there's like crying and bottles and diapers and all the things. It's just like this this process you have to get through, or the trench, if you will, that you have to get through in just the beginning. And then once that's done, then it's like, do you get out of that cycle or do you not? And working towards leaving the dishes in the sink and being okay with that. And I totally agree with you that it's probably a process that you can either choose to do or not choose to do, but sometimes you can do it without even realize you're doing it and choosing like, no, I'm okay with that. The dishes can stay like another day. It's gonna be fine. I also went through that. I also went through that, and it was a struggle for me at first because I felt like it just needs to be done. It needs to be done. But in reality, it doesn't. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't. You can take the time for yourself first. So now that's what I do. Like right now, I have 3 loads of laundry that are totally clean that are sitting on this chair, yeah, in my house. That's just a pile right now. And I'm like, my priority is to take my break to do what fills me up first. Then the laundry comes next. That is not first for me. And it took me a minute to flip it around. So I hear you, girl. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I am totally fine taking my time and being like, that laundry can sit there for 2 days. I don't care.
Right. It's like, what is the most important thing? Okay, if I paid the bills, okay, that might be the most important thing so I don't have overdue bills. Okay, I paid the bills. But the laundry? Eh,
Mhm.
like dinner's maybe not the most important because I know we have some leftovers, or I know we can reheat, like pull something out of the freezer, or oh my gosh, we could make sandwiches or
Love it.
a can of soup, or like no one in this house is going to starve. We are fortunate enough to have food in the pantry. Like it might not be a 3-course Martha Stewart meal, but
Yeah.
no one's going to starve. So if the kids come home from school and like bark at me that it's not fancy, you're all capable of cooking too.
Yeah, exactly. You're
So,
like, oh, so what are we having for dinner tonight? Wait, what? Wait,
exactly.
what, mom?
That's what it sounds like when you guys say it to me.
Exactly.
I'm just turning the tables.
I love it. I love teenagers.
Right.
So
Right.
great.
Like we were at school all day. Oh, well, I was working all day. Yeah. Works
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. It's like that
Yes.
whole sharing of it's like the whole sharing of the responsibilities. Like that's another thing too that we do in my house is like I just have a list that sits on the refrigerator and they just have to pick something from that list every day that they have to contribute with, because just because I'm the mom doesn't mean I do that whole list.
Hmm.
Sorry, we all live here, but what are you doing? Which one are you going to do today? And then sometimes I try to be sneaky and they're like, oh, they try to pick the easiest one. I'm like, nope, you did that yesterday. Pick something else. Like I have to like redirect. Okay, nope, that one was already used for the week. So let's try something that's a little harder. And they're like, oh, okay.
Love it. I love it. Yeah.
Well, one question that I love asking all of my guests when they come on is, with all of the hats we wear and all of the different things that we like to do, I feel like we have characteristics and traits and things that where it's kind of like our superpower that we use. Whether that be like one of mine is like time blocking. Like I can use my pockets of time like crazy and get so much done in my pockets of time that I look back and I'm like, whoa, I actually did a whole lot in just that, like 30 minutes of time blocking. What is one of your superpowers?
Hmm. Oh gosh, Shauna. What is one of my superpowers? I feel like your other guests probably answer this so quickly. I would say I am a good listener.
I love that one.
Um, um, another one, it's not very clean the way my daughter says it, but she also says that I'm not a jerk, but she uses more colorful language, but
I like it.
yeah, yeah. But some moms are jerks, but
Mhm.
I am not. So, but I'll just categorize that in with I'm a good listener.
I like that.
Yes, I just I think that you know adds well to my coaching business and just me as a friend
Yeah.
and a mom of teens.
Oh, yeah. Yes. It is very helpful. Yes, I do agree. Well,
Yep.
thank you
Like,
so much for sharing that with us.
yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
for being here today. Thank you for sharing about your podcast and your coaching business and your story and all of your ventures. I love all of it. I will have all of your information in the show notes if people want to reach out to you or find you. And I'm so thankful that you were here today in this conversation.
Thanks, Shauna. It was so good to be here.